Welcome back to Shadows of Primus, and it's a pleasure to be back and making content again. You've been more than patient, so I really appreciate it. Today, the Thunderhawks of House Goliath launch an assault on the Crimson Fane Corpse Grinder cult in the mission Fight Her Down. A quick look at the campaign table shows the Dark Syndicate take their first loss of the campaign to the Vanguard Enforcers. With a win today, the Crimson Fane can get one step closer to overall victory. A win for the Thunderhawks, however, will really open things up as numerous gangs will be at 2-2. Before we get to today's battle, I do want to say thanks to the folks at Goonhammer. This channel was fortunate enough to get mentioned in one of their Necromunda articles, and many of you have probably found my channel from that. I'll put a link in the description below. I reference so much of their stuff, and it's pretty awesome for the channel and for me personally to get a highlight from them. Thanks, guys. Also, you'll notice today we're battling on a skirmish mat, just good folks over there and a great product, so I'll put a link in the description for them as well. The Thunderhawks of House Goliath make a few changes in the down week. Zerk, a stemmer, joins the ranks with dermal hardening and hardened immune system. He carries furnace plates and paired pulverizers and has nerves of steel. A Forgeborn, Grease, joins with furnace plates and a heavy rock saw. Clunk, a bruiser, also joins with a stub cannon and furnace plates. Numerous fighters purchase stem slugs, and they depart today with 9 fighters, a gang rating of 1450, and a total wealth of 1510. The Crimson Fane come out of recovery with 13 active fighters. During the down week, they added 3 more, one initiate called Cleaver. He has an auto pistol and Butcher's Cleaver. Also, 2 brothers joined as Skinners, Mokthor and Lockthor. Both have paired heavy chain cleavers. These are strength +2, -2 AP, and 2 damage with paired and sever, making them absolute wrecking balls in combat. The gang clocks in at 1,965 credits and a total wealth of 1975. Today's scenario is Fight Her Down. Crews are random D3 +2 with reinforcements. Both crews roll up for a starting crew of 4, which could be crucial because it's easy to fail bottle tests. The Thunderhawks get Lugnut, Flathead, Zerk, and Clunk on the board, starting crew of 420. The Crimson Fane get Gorgon, Bonejaw, Diablo, and Belloc with a starting crew of 665. 2 tactics cards will be taken for each gang, with the Thunderhawks selecting Unstoppable Behemoth and Knockout Blow. The Crimson Fane get Visions of Slaughter and Savage Brutality. The Thunderhawks do get 2 additional tactics cards for being the underdog and get Not Done Yet and Tempered in Battle. Deployment is standard, and the Thunderhawks will have a wounded fighter down within 8 inches of the center of the board. Reinforcements are D3 random fighters at the end of turn 2 and each round thereafter. They must be on a battlefield edge and not within 12 inches of an enemy fighter. Special rules specify the wounded fighter is considered to have a serious injury, one they can't recover from. While they can't recover, they may crawl as normal. They can be taken out of action as normal with a coup de grace. Friendly fighters may carry them with a double action if activating within 1 inch. If the wounded fighter makes it to a battlefield edge within 1 inch and activate, they can escape the board, and that would give the Thunderhawks the victory today. There's also a special rule for carrying creatures, but I'm going to use Hive Dwellers, as that's the models that I have handy, and that states that after the wounded fighter and both gangs have deployed, we roll d6 +3 to find out how many creatures are present. We rolled for 6. Players will take turns placing them at least 12 inches from all fighters, and in the end phase, starting with priority, these creatures can be moved and may attack fighters. The battle will end when only one gang has fighters left on the board, or the wounded fighter has either escaped or been taken out of action. Since Infiltrate can really make the scenario not play well, we're going to eliminate that from being used. If they infiltrate and immediately kill the wounded fighter, it's game over, and I set all this terrain up for nothing. The target is the Smelting Works. That is what the Thunderhawks are going for. This grants them an extra boon in the campaign. And with all that said, we're ready for episode 11. I hope you enjoy. Okay, turn 1 priority rolls come out now. The Corpse Grinders will be up first. Bonejaw will use his first action to move. His second action will be to pull his auto pistol, and he is going to fire at this Hiver. The partial cover will negate the short range modifier, so he will hit on 4s. And dice hit the deck here, and that shot is going to miss. We're going to flip over to House Goliath, where Flathead is going to use both of his actions to move, getting towards the wounded fighter. Back over to the Crimson Fane, Gorgon will use both of his actions to move, getting a total of 10 inches, closing the gap quickly on this 3x3 board. And then back to the Thunderhawks, Lugnut is going to take a shot with his stub cannon at one of the Hivers here. He is going to aim first, so this will take him down to a 3 to hit. And dice coming out now, that shot is going to connect. That Hiver will go down pinned. We do need to take an ammo check here. That will be a 3+, and that is going to fail, so that gun will jam up. The Hiver goes down. This is strength 5 against toughness 3, so 3s will be needed to wound, and there will be no wound. Diablo will activate next, and he is going to move twice, getting close to this Hiver, not fearing them too much as they do have a weapon skill of 5. And then back to the Thunderhawks, we've got Zerk. He is going to move forward with his first action, use his second to open the door. Belloc, the Skinner, then activates, uses both of his actions to move. And then back to the Thunderhawks, we've got Clunk. He's going to use both of his actions to move as well, moving a total of 8 inches through the door that Zerk just opened. And now we go to the end phase where the wounded fighter is going to crawl. He will stay down, and then we're going to move to the Hivers. The Corpse Grinders will move first as they did have priority. They're going to charge one of these Hivers in. They move in with a basic move and they fight basic. So this is just a 5 to hit. That will fail, and then he is going to bounce D3 back. The Thunderhawks get to move the next Hiver, and they will move one into contact with Bonejaw. So this will be a hit on 5. And that will not work, so it will bounce back D3 back into the darkness, and this Hiver is going to bounce back 3 inches. Continuing Hiver movement, the Corpse Grinders are going to select one to move away from them, and then back over for House Goliath. They are going to activate a Hiver and charge this into contact with Diablo, and once again hitting on a 5. These are technically creatures, not people, so that shot is going to miss, and then we will bounce them back D3 as well, directly away from them, and that'll be 1 inch away. Little Karl then acts for the Corpse Grinders, and he is going to charge into Flathead. And once again, needing a 5 to strike. You figured you're going to get one of these sooner or later, and this does actually strike Flathead. So we're going to have to see if this wounds. It is just strength 3 against Flathead's toughness of 4. So 5s again, that will miss on the wound, and then we will bounce him back D3 as well. Be a total of 3 inches. It should be noted that because these Hivers are bouncing back, they will not get any kind of reaction attacks against them. This last Hiver is just going to stand up, and that brings us to the end phase for turn 1. So both forces pushing up the board. The wounded fighter was able to make a crawl, getting closer to the Goliath forces, but we're going to see the gap close very quickly as the Corpse Grinders are extremely fast, and they will get across the board very quickly to cause mayhem. So we are not going to roll for reinforcements until the end of turn 2, which is coming up now. Turn 2 priority rolls coming out now, and it looks like it's going back to the Corpse Grinders. And Diablo will activate first, use both of his actions to move, really closing the gap and getting up into the space where the Thunderhawks need to operate. And back over to the Thunderhawks, we are going to see Clunk. He is going to use both of his actions to move, getting next to the wounded fighter. So if you activate within 1 inch of the wounded fighter, you can use a double move to carry them. But it is the movement that is on your card, so this will be a slow way out. The Crimson Fane activates Gorgon next, and he is going to announce a charge into one of these Hivers, easily making it into contact, getting a total of 8 inches on the move. He has paired Butcher's Chain Cleavers. These are strength +1, AP -2, and 2 damage. The paired trait doubles the number of attacks, bringing him to 2, +1 for the charge, +1 for 2 melee weapons, and he hits on 3s. All of these go through, and he is going to be strength 4 against toughness 3. He's going to do 2 wounds. With 4 total damage, that is going to eliminate the Hiver as they are not wearing any kind of armor, and he is going to consolidate forward. And back to the Thunderhawks, Lugnut is going to line up a shot with his stub cannon as he sees Gorgon coming down the flank, and he's got to reload this weapon first. Will successfully pass this, needing a 3+, and then he takes the shot, but he finds out that Gorgon is out of range, so while the shot would hit, it is all for naught. The Crimson Fane activates Bonejaw, and he will skirt around this Hiver using both of his activations to move. And then we go back over to the Thunderhawks, where Flathead is going to charge into little Karl here, just trying to clean up some of this mess that is around the wounded fighter. He carries an axe and a Spudjacker. He gets 1 base, +1 for the charge, +1 for 2 melee weapons, and he has a weapon skill of 4. The axe will be in black, the Spudjacker in yellow, and it looks like 2 of these are going to connect, 1 from each weapon. And then this is going to be strength +1, so it'll be 3s. We get a cocked die here that we will re-roll out. We know that the axe connects and the Spudjacker will as well. These are just 1 damage each, and injury dice are popping out. There's a serious injury there, so he will give this Hiver the coup de grace. And then we move to closing moves for turn 2, as Belloc will use both of his actions to move, getting across the pipe here. Zerk over for the Thunderhawks will activate next, and he is just going to shuffle forward ever so slightly. And then in the end phase, the wounded fighter is going to make a crawl move, getting closer to Clunk so they can activate and try to move as 1 in turn 3. Players then begin to move Hivers. The Corpse Grinders activate first, as they did have priority. 1 charges into Flathead here. He does need a 5 in order to hit, however. He is not going to get that and will bounce back 2 inches. Next up for the Thunderhawks, they activate a Hiver as well, and then charging this one into Bonejaw, so weapon skill of 5. 5s will be needed again, and this one will hit. However, the roll to wound is going to be strength 3, toughness 3, 4s will be needed, and that's not going to happen, so that Hiver will bounce back as well. We do have a few Hivers to activate, and the Corpse Grinders will send 1 into Zerk here. Again, needing a 5. That is going to be unsuccessful, so he is going to bounce back. And then the Thunderhawks are going to attempt to move one of the Hivers into Belloc. However, he cannot get enough clearance to end up in base contact, so he's just going to stay on the other side of the pipe. Now things begin to get dicey as reinforcements are coming in. That's 2 for the Corpse Grinders on their D3. They get a Champion, Gormaw, and then Slipknot will be coming in as well. House Goliath also rolling up for reinforcements on a D3, only getting 1, but the random roll does bring in their gang leader, Big Red, with his Combi Plasma and Power Hammer. And one of the things about reinforcements in this scenario is they have to come in at least 12 inches away from any enemy fighter. And by the Thunderhawks really hunkering down in that one corner, they have limited where the Corpse Grinders can come in. However, the Corpse Grinders have closed the gap very quickly, and they are close enough in turn 3 to start doing the butcher's work, and turn 3 is coming up right now. Priority rolls going out for turn 3, and it looks like that the activations will go over to House Goliath. Clunk is immediately going to activate, move 4 inches with a double move, carrying that wounded fighter with him. And now you're going to see why, as back over for the Crimson Fane, we're going to see Diablo coming down through the alleyway here and getting up close and personal with the Thunderhawks, daring them to charge with his mask. Hearing the call that the Corpse Grinders are close, Lugnut moves a little closer and takes aim again at Gorgon with his stub cannon. There's no cover here, so he just straight needs a 4, and this shot is going to hit, so Gorgon will go down pinned and get knocked back. It is strength 5 against toughness 3. There is no wound. The Corpse Grinders then activate Belloc. He uses both of his moves to move across the board, really challenging the Thunderhawks to pick one flank or the other to defend, and challenging them to charge with their low willpower. And Flathead is not going to fall for it. He is actually going to block. He is going to stay 1 inch away from Diablo here, but making it to where he cannot charge the wounded fighter. House Goliath will need to get a little bit aggressive here, and that's exactly what they're going to do, as Zerk will announce a charge into Belloc. He has to get a 3 on his D3 roll in order to make it into contact, and that is exactly what he is going to get. So he goes into contact, and then he will need to pass a 7-up willpower check, which he does, and he will be able to unleash his paired pulverizers against Belloc. Now, if you've ever been hit by these things, they really suck. They do have the paired trait, which gets him 6 base attacks, plus 1 for the charge and 1 for dual melee weapons, 8 in total, and he hits with a weapon skill of 2. So dice coming out now, and all of these but 1 are going to hit. These things also pulverize, which can affect the injury roll, but he is a strength of 4. You get strength plus 1 on these, so it's a 5 versus a 3. 3s will be needed to wound, and it looks like there will be 6 wounds that go through against Belloc. Armored undersuit with his plate mail and his Skinner's mask. These are AP -1. That puts him on a 4-up save. So I will take saves here and gonna fail 3 of these. And that's going to reduce him to 0 wounds, 1 damage each. 3 injury dice will be rolled out, and this is where Pulverize can come into play. He's going to go down with a serious injury, however, and get the coup de grace from Zerk. And a piercing howl from Belloc across this sector lets the rest of the Corpse Grinders know that one of their own has been taken down in combat. And it looks like Zerk is going to play Tempered in Battle, which is the first tactics card to be played in this game, and it will grant him the Fearsome skill. So if you want to charge him, you will need to pass a willpower check for the remainder of this game. A D66 will be rolled out for Belloc, and it looks like he is going to get a 42, which will be Grievous. Moving back over to the Crimson Fane, we've got Bonejaw. He will use both of his actions to move. And then back to House Goliath, we've got Big Red. He's going to declare a charge into the Hiver here, and he's going to end up just short. So that is a 2 on a D3. He's got a movement of 5 now. He did upgrade that. And back to the Crimson Fane, we've got Gormaw, who is going to use both of his actions to move forward, closing the gap on Big Red. And then Slipknot will use an action to open the door, and his second action will be to move through it. This brings us to the end phase of turn 3, and we're going to see some Hivers move around the board with the Thunderhawks getting the first move. They're going to move one into a blocking position. The Crimson Fane will charge one of the Hivers into Flathead. And again, needing a 5 in order to hit, he will miss and then will bounce back D3. The rest of the Hivers are going to remain stationary, and the Corpse Grinders will need to take a bottle test here in turn 3, which we said earlier could be easy to fail. They roll out a 1, so they are going to be just fine. They will be sticking around. We've got reinforcement rolls coming up next, turn 3 officially coming to a close. Okay, reinforcement rolls coming out. The Thunderhawks get 3. The Crimson Fane only get 1. So the Thunderhawks bringing in 2 of their fighters, one with the Sump Croc to back up that quadrant they're trying to get out of. They're also bringing in one of their Forgeborns across the board, really trying to limit where the Crimson Fane can enter. The Crimson Fane get another initiate onto the board, and we are moving into priority rolls for turn 4. And turn 4 priority rolls coming out, the tie going to the Corpse Grinders, and we immediately see Diablo the Skinner charging into the bully Flathead. Diablo is equipped with paired heavy chain cleavers. These things have the Sever trait, so they can really hurt. They're also paired, so he'll get 2 base attacks, plus 1 for the charge, and 1 for 2 melee weapons, and he will be hitting on a weapon skill of 3. All of these, but 1 are going to connect. And then rolling these back out, it is strength 5, toughness 4. 3s are needed. 3 wounds will go through. And at AP -2, strength 2, this would typically be 6 damage, but Goliath are going to play a tactics card here, Unstoppable Behemoth. And this means that before the injury roll, that the attack has no further effect. No injury roll is made. In addition, if the fighter is pinned, they may immediately stand up. So the attack becomes null and void, and it looks like he is going to take counter swings. Flathead swings back with a weapon skill of 4. Spudjacker will be in black, the axe in yellow. The Spudjacker will hit, and this will knock back. It is strength 5 against toughness 3s. 3s are needed to wound. We'll do a wound, and a save will be needed by me. That will fail, and that means that an injury die comes out, and it's a serious injury. So things really not going to plan for the Corpse Grinders here, as the Thunderhawks are doing well with their tactics. We do have a group activation taking place next as Crush moves to the door and uses his action to open it. And this is going to allow Piston to move through the doorway with his first action and fire his shotgun at Gormal. This will be in scatter shot mode, which is the template, and this is going to pin Gormal. And the shot automatically hits. We'll do d6 wound rolls, and that will be 3. Strength 2 against toughness 3. 5s will be needed to wound, and it looks like one of those will go through. Even though I have plate mail, an armored undersuit, and a cutter's mask, I actually fail. I missed this roll, but he will take 1 wound and go down pinned. Next man up, we've got Cleaver, who just entered the board. He's going to use an action to move up, and he is going to target Lugnut with his auto pistol, and shots will ring out here. He is in the open, and it will just need straight 4s in order to hit. Shot will miss, and we will need to take an ammo check here. That is going to be a 3. I needed a 4. That fails, and he is out of ammo. Lugnut immediately returns fire with his stub cannon, aiming down to a 3, and he is targeting Cleaver. The shot hits. That will knock him back and pin him. Strength 5, so 3s will be needed to wound, and that is not going to cause a wound, but Cleaver will be knocked back and pinned. Now back over to the Corpse Grinders. We do have Slipknot, who will move forward. He is going to target Piston with his auto pistol, and shots will ring out here. He will need a 4 in order to hit rapid fire with this weapon, and that will hit, and 2 shots will go through. And this is going to be strength 3 against toughness 4, so 5s will be needed to wound. And he will get 1 wound, so Piston will go down pinned, and a save will be taken. Furnace plates in the front, a 6, that will get it done. And things really starting to heat up in turn 4. Big Red activates with a move. He then points his plasma pistol at Gormal, who is down on the ground. He can now see him in the open. He is not behind cover, and he is going to pass a willpower check with a 12, and he will fire the plasma pistol, and that shot is going to hit. He is getting a +2 modifier for being short range within 6 inches, and then 3s are needed to wound. That will easily wound the target, and I will take a 4-up save at AP -1. I will fail this, and an injury die will be rolled out for Gormal, 2 of them, as he is reduced to 0 wounds, and he is going out of action. A nearby cool check will need to be taken by Slipknot, and he is going to pass, and then we're going to roll up on the D66 for Gormal. And a 21 will be rolled up, which is out cold. We are going to flip back over to the Corpse Grinders, where they continue to try to apply pressure as Gorgon, moving at max speed, getting close to the wounded fighter, hoping to charge him on the next turn. And then Lugnut is going to take out Diablo with a coup de grace. We're going to roll up on a D66. It will be a 51. That is a head injury that will stand despite the Skinner's mask. Flathead will then use his second action to move into a blocking position, making sure that Gorgon can't get to the wounded fighter without going through him first. And now back over to the Corpse Grinders. Bonejaw is going to use both of his actions to move, continuing to make his way around the board. We do have some final moves coming up for the Thunderhawks, as Clunk is going to carry the wounded fighter. He is trying to move towards the board edge that has now opened up in the middle. And then Zerk is going to activate next. He is going to move into a blocking position as well, protecting that wounded fighter. And moving into the end phase, things not going the way the Corpse Grinders had planned in this one. And we're going to move a few Hivers here. This one is going to move into contact with Clunk, who is carrying that wounded fighter, needs a 5 to hit. He will miss, and then he is going to bounce back D3. So he will bounce back 1 inch. We have another fighter that is going to activate, and this one is going to move into Gorgon and attack him, also needing a 5. and this shot is actually going to hit him, and then he will need 5s as well in order to wound, or excuse me, 4s to wound, and that will not wound. He's going to bounce back D3, which is 2 inches. Bottle check coming out for the Corpse Grinders at the end of 4, and they roll up a 6. That will fail. Remember, starting crews were just 4 in this one, so it was only a matter of time before someone failed. But the Corpse Grinders are going to use this opportunity to go ahead and flee the battlefield. So while the Crimson Fane could bring in more reinforcements, I am down several fighters in this one already, and I think making the choice to flee the battlefield probably the right move in this one, as the Thunderhawks are well positioned to get that fighter off the board regardless of what happens. So we've got the post game coming up. Hope you enjoyed this battle report, and it looks like the Thunderhawks of House Goliath will take a victory today. All right, welcome to the post game, and I control the Corpse Grinders today. I typically play them, and I took one on the chin. So I pushed the fighters up. I thought that the House Goliath fighters would have a difficult time passing willpower checks. If you look on their stat cards, I mean, the best they have for willpower is probably a 7 with their stimmer, and the majority of them are 9s and maybe a few 8s for champions. So making it very difficult to charge is just one of the things that, Corpse Grinders enjoy with their terrifying and fearsome special rules that they get from their masks. And, Goliath, they really shine when they get into combat, and I just felt I could really get up in his face and make him just make difficult decisions, apply pressure from 2 different sides, and it just didn't work out like that because he passed the willpower checks when he needed to, and things just, that's what can happen sometimes. Also, tactics cards coming into play in this one. Unstoppable Behemoth is just a really good counter card when you get charged. Like you saw what happened when Diablo went into Flathead. It totally negated that attack and then ended up giving Diablo a serious injury. And then Tempered in Battle, I thought that was good as well because it does give one of their fighters the Fearsome rule, and it kind of uses the Corpse Grinders ethos against them. For my tactics cards on Visions of Slaughter, I probably should have played that one, and that's when you can treat a charge action as a basic rather than a double, but I was kind of saving that for when, I was just saving it for a better opportunity, and unfortunately I'd let that one probably get away from me. On House Goliath, I thought they did a really good job blocking and making it very difficult for me to get to the wounded fighter without going through their fighters. That was a pretty good job, and they also used the creatures, or we used hivers in this one, to block as well. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought the scenario was actually a lot of fun. We did not use the infiltrate special rule again, and that really kind of limits what the Corpse Grinders can do because I do have the Needleways in this campaign, and that means I get to pretty much infiltrate my entire gang. But of course in this one, I could infiltrate right next to the wounded fighter and immediately charge in and take him out, and that would make the scenario very unbalanced, so we decided not to use that. So, victory goes to the Thunderhawks of House Goliath. For spoils, they will get D3 reputation, so they will get 1 there. Going to give them 50 credits in this one as well. There are no credits that are typically awarded for this battle, but going to give them 50 credits so they at least get something, and the Corpse Grinder cult will lose a reputation for bottling out in this one. With an update to the campaign table, House Goliath now goes to 2-2, while the Corpse Grinders fall to 2-2. And we've also got the Enforcers there at 2-2 as well. Things have really started to open up. And next on the horizon, we will have the Nines of House Escher taking aim at the Renegades of House Orlok. As always, there will be more Necromunda to come. I would like to give a special thank you to my 2021 Coffee Supporters Club. Your names are on the screen now, and I have added your graffiti to the terrain, so you'll be seeing that in this little hive of mine moving forward. If you have any questions or want to interact with me, feel free to leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time from the darkest places of the Underhive. Take care.